Oh, good. Okay. Good evening, all on Play Chess and on YouTube. Yes, I'm hoping it sounds good for everyone, and hoping the board's okay for everyone. On YouTube stream, the board should be appearing soon on my preview. It's a 20-second delay, I think. This week, I'd like to go over some remaining over-the-board games. I never seem to have got time during the over-the-board season. The over-the-board season is coming to an end in my leagues. In Middlesex... Oh, there's an echo. I'll just stop the echo. Okay, so good evening all on YouTube and Play Chess. This week I'm going to look at some over-the-board games which I haven't yet covered on the YouTube channel, Kingscrusher YouTube channel. So let's see. There's one game just from last week, and actually I've still got a bit of a cold, but I had a pretty bad cold at the time. The night before wasn't too good. Anyway, it was an away match against Ealing Chess Club, so Muswell Hill travelled away. We actually defaulted 2 boards, and we were actually kind of late. I was about 20 minutes late for this. I was playing white against Del Gibbons. I kicked off with e4, and my opponent played the Sicilian defence. And I tried playing d4, the Smith-Morra gambit. So it's a very interesting approach to the Sicilian defence. After c takes d, c3, my opponent didn't accept the gambit though. That's what I was hoping for, a fun sort of game. And that didn't happen. Okay, so my opponent instead played a really annoying move, knight f6, which is I think the most popular response nowadays, going to into c3 Sicilian lines. I played e5, and after knight d5, live book I think indicates the most popular move here is actually to play knight f3. That is the most popular move. It supports the e5 pawn. So it's over 4,000 games with knight f3, over 1,000 with c takes, 600 with queen takes. What I played is actually only 111. So bishop c4. Okay, so bishop c4. I've got some background sound effects on the dog at the moment. Okay, so now there's a very interesting move in live book here. The top move is actually players just retreat the knight, but my opponent played a very, very good move, which already kind of worried me here. That black can actually, instead of playing knight b6 here, this is really annoying. And remember, I was about 20 minutes late for this game. The time control is 30 moves in an hour and a quarter. And so this is a bit of a worry, this next move. I've blundered in the opening already. Because actually there's a double attack available. Queen c7. So hitting c4 and e5, the loose pawn on e5. The point is that the knight's kind of... If the knight's taken, that's pretty nasty. Queen takes e5, picking up the bishop with interest. I wouldn't want to play that position. So I was forced already to find a decent move here. But it has been seen before, this position. A bit rarer position, but it has been seen before. And the move to counter this is Queen e2, and that has been played before. So protecting c4 and e5. So okay, it was a bit of a shaky start, this Queen c7. So now knight b6, and again because of this loose pawn, it seemed to me that the natural retreat here, bishop b3, there might be d3 trying to deflect the queen away from e5, and I wasn't happy with that. But before going on to that particular note, there's also something else to note, more obvious, that when my opponent, just rewind a little bit here, if queen takes d4, then knight b6 is really annoying, because say the bishop moves, then knight c6 would win a pawn. So that was unacceptable as well. So that's why this queen e2 was arrived at. That queen takes d4 was not really possible. So that's the background on queen e2 as well. Queen d4, knight b6, then knight c6. Horrible. So I've got to be careful. So knight b6, and here, okay, so there's bishop b3, d3 as an idea. So I actually put the bishop on d3, and this has actually been played before, 37 games apparently in live, but bishop d3. So blocking the d3 pawn. It's a bit of an unusual position though. I've never really had this in blitz chess, and I get it in this over the board game. So my opponent's already been fairly resourceful, I thought. But I think the position's okay for white. If he does snap up the pawn, okay, that's what I want from the Morris Smith. The queen might actually be a target, and that would be okay. That's the sort of gambit I wanted anyway. But he actually played d6 here, and I took on d6. So queen takes d6, and now I'm offering this pawn again, and we could put on the Kibitzer, I guess, to see what the engine's like laughing at this. Probably I'm going to put on a Kibitzer. I played c takes d4. Actually, it gives it almost equal, slightly better for black, tiny bit. Now the thing is, queen takes d4 does look tempting. Why can't black just take that? Possibly there's a bit of trouble. Knight f3. Actually, the engine actually likes this a little bit for white. This sort of continuation. There might be some sort of initiative going on, you never know. It looks as though this could be potentially quite pleasant, this sort of thing. Could be pleasant if I get the light square bishop. This is just a variation. Okay, so it's not all bad if queen takes d4 anyway here. My opponent played knight c6. And yes, it was an uneasy feeling that, I'm in unexplored territory here. Technically, it's almost about equal. Bishop e3, again offering a gambit under a different circumstance here now. So if knight takes d4 here, bishop takes, queen takes, knight f3. Let's go with, say, queen f4 or queen g4. Again, there's a little bit of compensation here, and the engine suggests actually white might actually be okay in this sort of position. So I guess, yeah, it was interesting to be on unknown territory, but also, you know, I had a bit of a cold. I wasn't sure how well I'd be playing this game, and it looks already like I thought at the time I've been beaten in the opening here, that I've been having to play in this unusual way for what usually, well, at least in blitz, is a much more pleasant experience a lot of the time than this position. So my opponent's got this option again to win a pawn. I played bishop e3 actually because a story behind bishop e3 here. If knight f3, then I thought this pin is very annoying. Actually, the engine actually likes this pin. Really annoying pin, and I thought that's just unacceptable. So it was actually a kind of lesser evil choice to play bishop e3, just to try and discourage this, to get this locked in. And in fact, we see e6 now. So I was a bit happier after seeing e6 now. I mean, maybe my opponent had something else. He could have done maybe g6 apparently, or bishop e6. g6 is probably quite good, quite logical. So I'm not sure this is a brilliant position for white, but you know, there's a bit of it's okay-ish. But after e6, apparently I'm doing okay. He's blocked in his bishop voluntarily here by playing e6. I play knight f3, so now finally securing that pawn. So I'm not losing a pawn to any weird gambit. Bishop e7, and I want to discourage casting here. I'm looking at this h7 pawn and these knights over here, so there's no knight on f6. I try and discourage casting with this scary move. I thought it would be quite scary to play h4. Now if indeed he castles, is it sound? Probably. The engine quite likes this. This Greek gift here is sound apparently. So say knight g5. This is actually winning here. Actually, king g8, queen h5 would be winning here apparently. It's a forced mate in 5, because you see this mechanism here, fishing pole mechanism, and this is one to be aware of. If f6, can you all see what white would do here for a forced mate in 4 in this position, what would you play with white in this position if you were playing white? Is anyone awake here? Yeah. So if you were playing white, what would you play in this position? Anyone? I'll say in a few seconds. I'll give you a few seconds. Quite a long delay on stream actually. Okay, so one of you's on Play Chess, yes. Yes, okay. So on Play Chess now, you're seeing yes, I think you're seeing the right move now if you had this position, which would really celebrate that sacrifice here. And I think we've got the position now on YouTube, so I'm hoping there's a response now on that there. Okay, I'm going to show you just G6 because it would stop the king using F7, and it introduces Queen H8. So there'll be no defense here actually. There'll be like a token check and then nothing. Black's getting mated soon. So okay. Yeah, there's a big delay on YouTube, unfortunately, for these questions, but I'll bear that in mind. It's nice to get some answers there. Well done, everyone. G6. It wasn't a particularly hard test, but H4, I'm just scaring the opponent that he can't castle. His knights are over here. I thought it would be good for a laugh, actually. I mean, I was unwell as well, and slightly unwell during the game, and part of the psychology of playing H4 is that I also wanted to make the game interesting for me to try and be more alert. So sometimes I throw in moves to make the game more interesting. Bishop F6, so putting more pressure on D4. I play Knight C3 now. Again, another gambit of the D4 pawn. So it's like the third time. But here, I think this might not be good. Knight takes D4 here. I was hoping it wouldn't be. The engine doesn't like this at all for black. Knight takes, bishop takes, because there's knight b5. So this is not practical. Queen b4 check, bishop d2. Black's getting in big trouble here. Look at that c7. So this would be winning for white, really. So that pawn cannot actually be taking here. So knight c3 is quite a nifty move, I thought. Potential to attack the queen usefully. We see knight b4, and black, as well as going for my valuable light square bishop, which I generally want to keep, he's looking at that blockade square. This blockade square looks quite juicy for a knight in front of the isolated queen's pawn. Entirely logical. I play actually bishop e4. The engine doesn't really care about the light square bishop. It's suggesting this. Interesting. Maybe this is okay for white. You see that here, the blockade on d5 without the knight isn't as dangerous, so maybe white's got some dynamic play in this sort of position. But yeah, I wanted to keep the light square bishop, so maybe this isn't technically best, but it seemed like a good idea. Okay, no, it's okay. Bishop e4. So now he blockades the d pawn, knight 4 to d5, and I take the opportunity here to attack the queen. Queen drops back, and I thought this is a little bit awkward. So what about g4? It looked like a good laugh. G5, trying to win the bishop next. So he makes some space for the bishop with g6, and if g5 bishop g7, so I thought, well, why don't I rule out bishop g7? I'll play bishop h6. So I'm trying to rule out bishop g7. So I'm still like kind of renewing this g5 idea potentially. Okay, so black actually played rook g8 here in this position, which might be a little bit of a concession not to castle kingside actually. Perhaps this wasn't such a big deal because actually there's always a check here and then maybe bishop e7. So say black just played bishop d7, g5. I think the check is okay for black actually. So say here, well, there's bishop takes b5, ouch. And if knight c3, I think then the bishop, well, there's even worse. Knight takes c3. This is horrible. This isn't attractive. So it seems g5 is wasn't actually really on the cards. During the game I thought it was as a threat, and he responded to it maybe with less than optimal move. So the engine is actually suggesting bishop d7 or queen b4. So this b5 is a bit of a loose piece potentially. It's only protected by the queen. But rook g8, maybe that was not necessary. Rook g8. So now I play my bishop back. So black has forfeited casting rights on the king side, so he'll look to be casting queen side potentially. Bishop d7, now g5, bishop h8, and now I thought I'd try and use this rook instead of just casting, because I've got weaknesses here. I'll try and use the rook to get a rook to the 7th, because I thought that might be quite dangerous if you get a rook to the 7th. Sometimes it's dangerous. a6, kicking the knight back, and now reinforcing that beautiful blockading knight. So I wasn't that kind of pleased with my position. On the other hand, I thought it was maybe a little bit better than earlier in the game, because at least I've got this active rook now. I play h takes, and rook h7, and there's actually, I think there's a threat on for white. Yes, the engine I think might also verify it. What would you say white is threatening? It's actually academic, because black's going to castle queenside. So I'll tell you, bishop takes g6 would be on, because there's a pin there against the queen, and if rook takes, then thingy. But castling queenside protects h8, so that's gone. Still, I think I'm okay here. I play actually knight takes d5, and after knight takes d5, I play rook c1, and I'm thinking, well, actually this is looking quite tasty. Surely an exchange sack here would be quite interesting. I think there was a Magnus Carlsen game this year against Caruana at some point this year where Magnus did an exchange sack, and it seemed to work out well. And I think, well, after king b8, I had to weigh this up. Is it really worth it? So he's unpinned the bishop. Is it really worth it to take here for taking here? I mean, if I gave you this position, I mean, would you consider rook takes c6 here? I mean, how many of you would vote yes to rook takes c6 out of interest if I let you have a look at this position for a bit, for 20 seconds here? So would you play rook takes c6 here? Would you like to give up the rook or not? Would you need to be completely convinced, or is anyone completely convinced with rook takes c6, or is it dubious, the compensation? Okay, I think the general idea, when it's successful, generally a successful exchange sacrifice, I think you need to just be satisfied that your advantage could escalate shortly afterwards. And I was actually quite satisfied that it could escalate. So actually, you know, I did take it. Because after b takes, queen takes, I thought if he challenges, he's going to lose yet another pawn. Rook takes f7. And he did challenge. He did actually challenge with queen b7. This might not be the best move, but I'm now picking up 2 pawns for the exchange. So I take this. He takes 2 pawns for the exchange. king b6. And you'll see that also there's two connected passed pawns here, and there's fragmented pawns here. But on the other hand, black has this quite strong knight, and this bishop could actually be liberated with c5. And okay, so these factors need to be borne in mind. There's a technical note here that this f file, it's actually difficult at the moment to play rook f8 as well. Sorry, I played a4 trying to get my pawns going, but if rook f8 here, this wasn't played, white actually has a strong move in bishop takes g6. This will be good. It wasn't played, so if takes, we'll just take the rook. If takes here, I can actually just play g6, and to follow with bishop h6, that'd be crushing. So that satisfied me that rook f8 was out of the question. So my opponent actually played c5. It seems a very logical move, try and extend the scope of the bishop. Technically, it seems white's best move might be a5 here. a5, and if king c6, knight e5 check to rob black of that bishop, takes. Apparently this is okay for white. White has an advantage here, technically. You see that white has the bishop here, and there's potential attacks on the king and stuff, which might be useful. I mean, say rook c8 check. If c4 here, maybe something like this, and then b3. So this pawn's held. There's no entry point that easily. So it looks as though there's compensation, but I didn't play that. I played actually. You see, I was actually attracted with the idea of having two like passed pawns together here. I actually chose d takes c5, which possibly isn't as good here, but it's still okay. The engine is actually still liking white a little bit, believe it or not. So king takes c5, and I want to get my pawn going, but he's going to take. So I play rook b7, knowing that I could play b4 next. So rook b8, and I play b4 check. And possibly the best move for black here. I mean, I was kind of expecting king c4 for the king to try and get aggressive with king b3. This would be quite interesting. The thing is, do these pawns survive? So rook takes, say rook takes b5, king b3. That looks a bit dangerous, that these pawns are getting dismantled. But apparently this might actually be okay, taking here. It might actually be okay. There's a passed pawn now over here. Might be okay for white, just about. White does have this bishop pair. But that's the continuation I thought he should play. I was pleasantly surprised he played actually king d6. I think this is slightly more favourable to me than that continuation. I take on d5 now, getting rid of that horrible knight as a relief. And now if e takes d5, there'll be bishop f4 check, a nice skewer. So he has to take with the king, and that's important because these pawns remain not so impressive, isolated pawns. So I play check, king c6, and now I play rook h7. So I want to get these pawns going, and here my opponent played rook b7. Can you see what I played in this position, which is simple and strong? So rook b7 at move 36, and actually I can't, I was, as I say, I was with a cold during this game, and it seemed like so much time the opponent had available, about more than 40 minutes. I didn't think I was going to survive for the rest of the game, but thankfully there's a good move in this position, so I didn't have to suffer too long, feeling like bad, terrible. So what can white play in this position? If I give you 20 seconds here. So white's play here. Okay, yeah, just b5 check. Okay, so this is actually, the king's actually overloaded here. So now, after king b6, I hope you've seen bishop e3 check. The king is just overloaded. It can't actually protect the rook. This is the end of the game. Okay. So I was pleased with that, the end of the game there, and yeah, that was my game from last week, and because of this win, well, we actually managed to win the match even though we had 2 defaults, so we managed to secure winning Division 2 of the Middlesex League. So outright, we won actually 13 matches out of 13, no losses, no draws. So we'll be back in Division 1 next season from October. And Division 1 has a lot of very strong teams with FMs, IMs, GMs playing in Division 1. So it's totally different. And it's going to be very, very hard to pick up any wins, I think, next season. So, yeah, so I'm kind of hoping I'm going to try and do well next season, but it's going to be really tough. So anyway, this game from last week was I thought, you know, okay to show, and but there's some other games from other leagues which are also interesting. The week before in this Middlesex league, I was playing someone around my rating, Mark Gray. Let's have a look at this game. So this was on the 23rd of April. Okay, so 23rd of April, Mark Gray had smashed me up last year, and he's rated slightly higher than me at 197, so I'm 195. And so this was a way, we had to go into London for this. What is his club? F&AM Chess Club. So d4, he plays d5. After c4, e6. And he plays this Slav defense. And I offer a gambit because I want to have some fun here. I offer the c4 pawn as a gambit. I do like to gambit, even in the over-the-board games. But he didn't accept it, actually. He didn't accept this gambit. I thought that would be quite good fun. He played knight f6. After g3, knight bd7. So black's really solid. Bishop g2, bishop e7. I thought what would be okay, surely, is actually in this position just delay to play b3 and bishop b2. So like both sides castle, b3. And he plays b6. And actually this bishop is not only going to be not bad, it's going to be pretty good, actually. If it's eyeing this kind of rook on f1. This could be pretty annoying. And there's a very, very important finesse here, which I'm about to miss. That I think it might be a good idea for white to play for e4 with some preparation. But there's something important about this bishop on a6. It is a nuisance bishop. Already, you know, that c4 pawn is vulnerable. So I play knight d2, not just with the idea of supporting c4, by playing e4. This position has occurred before in live book, so black playing rook c8 quite frequently, 25 games with that, b5 17. Okay, he plays actually rook c8, and here is where a fantastic finesse is actually going to be needed. I play e4, he takes, and so far so good. Well, here is where humans and engines seem to depart, actually, at this point. In live book, the human move is just simply recapturing the pawn. I'm not sure it's the greatest move. I thought this was an important finesse to point out. I'm hoping it is. What would you play as white? So you've got these three things staring at the pawn. why wouldn't you take the pawn? Is there a better move than taking the pawn? What would you play here with white? If I give you 20 seconds with white, what would you play with the white pieces here? I think it's an important finesse. I'll tell you why after, when you had the chance to have a look at this. So white's playing. What would you play? Anyone got an idea? Okay. This is really ridiculous in some ways. I've got to say, really ridiculous. I mean, the plan was to play e4. It seemed pretty thematic, but the thing is, okay, this pawn is actually not going anywhere or even being protected by anything anytime soon. What actual pieces are going to be adding protection to this pawn? There's 3 pieces on it. There's only 1 protector. You can't imagine other knights or coming to the rescue of the pawn. So the thing is, a little finesse would make it more comfortable to eventually take the pawn without having loads of hassle here. Jacob Rayner, yes, on YouTube said it. Get out of the pin. The thing is, I took knight d takes e4 and regretted it. Because actually, b5 is pretty annoying. Pretty annoying to say the least. This position. The pawn didn't have to be taken. It didn't have to be taken. You can see like c5, it's really annoying. b4. You know, double attack time. If this is just, if some, you know, the pawn's not actually going anywhere, and actually the engine is suggesting 2 moves, queen e2 or rook e1. Both of these, the pawn's not going anywhere. You can imagine b5 here. The pawn's not going anywhere, just c5. And what would be the big deal here? If b4, then knight c takes e4, and white would be better actually here. White would be better. This blockade, you might think, is that any good? Well, white's got knight c4. It looks quite a juicy position. Engine's given this as a clear advantage to white. We're looking at d6 here, and it all stems from a little finesse. How a tiny little finesse of moving the rook out of the way in advance of this. The pawn is just not going anywhere, and I think this is a habit of Levan Aronian sometimes. If you see Levan Aronian's games, you know, he takes material sometimes quite leisurely, not immediately, and here it would have just stopped all the counterplay with b5. I took this instead of rook e1, but also queen e2 probably does the same sort of thing. b5 is a counterpin on this bishop with c5 here, just to stop this b4, and that's fine as well. So queen here, we can use this knight to get out of the way of b4, and if b4 here, knight c4, and again white would be doing really well. Okay, so that looks good for white, but the way I played it here, I regret it. So knight d takes e4, and I thought this is just really annoying. This b5, really annoying. So what do I do here? It's horrible. I mean, it's equal at least anyway. Technically, it's equal with this position. Okay, so I play knight d2. He takes knight takes c4, and there's pressure. You know, there's unnecessary. All this pressure, isolated queen's pawn. It was totally unnecessary, just from a little, you know, finesse. Knight takes b6 hits the rook though. So okay, so say bishop takes, I can take here and I'm winning actually because I've got knight takes e7 check after. So he took with the queen. Better, I think, would be to take with the pawn. And black apparently is doing very nicely here. That's what I expected. But for some reason he took with the queen. And it allows a little bit, you know, the structure's not so great here. And I seem to have a bind on c5 with tempo, knight a4, hitting the queen, increasing my bind on c5, and white's okay here. Queen a5, back in the game, rook e1. Even so, he's kind of, you know, got a reasonable position. That d5 square is good for the knight. Rook fd8, and it looks as though this is designed against rook e5. Apparently, rook e5, you know, I was worried about queen takes e5 here, but this is not a problem actually. D takes, rook takes, knight d5. Apparently this is okay for white. Bishop f3. This should be the small advantage for white. Apparently this is what Houdini is indicating. Knight c3. It's not so bad. So rook e5 is plausible actually, but I want to avoid that. I played queen f3. So I want to play something like this, hit the queen. He plays knight d5, and I thought it was a good idea. I want to kind of, I know he's going to play c5, so he's going to get rid of that backward pawn. I want to lock down on c5, but if I lock down on c5 here, you know, this might be dangerous because he's hitting a2. I thought this is dangerous. You know, if rook c1, I thought knight b4 maybe, you know. During the game would be interesting. It's not actually mentioned by the engines actually, but okay, let's have a look. Knight b4. Okay, here taking here, is that too dangerous? Probably. It might backfire here. It backfires. Okay, it backfires. I didn't see that stuff. But apparently, so this is okay. Bishop c3. It looks as though I would have compensation here. There's some compensation for the pawn. I have got a bit of a bind. If ever he takes here, this bishop's kind of good on g7. So queen g4, looking at that g7. There's compensation. But anyway, I didn't really want to get involved in all. I thought knight b4 was dangerous, so I pinned it. I actually pinned that knight, thinking that if bishop f6, you know, c5 isn't supported anymore. If the bishop's over there, I could just retreat this, knowing that c5, I've got it under lock and key. But this is not so, because after bishop f6, there's an unpleasant resource for black in this position. This diagonal, it doesn't work out. If I now play rook e4, black does actually have c5. Because of this pin, I've actually encouraged c5 instead of dampening it down. I've actually encouraged it because knight takes c5, black would have rook takes c5. So, you know, winning material. So I've encouraged. Unfortunately, I've encouraged this horrible thing. So I play rook h5, trying to keep the pin. Now, if g6. Can you see what white can play if g6? This wasn't played, but what would white play here? In this position, if you had this position with g6, what can you play in this position? Oh, by the way, hello Thomas Villiers from Muswell Hill Chess Club. Tom, this is one of that horrendous game I nearly lost. If that's you from Muswell Hill Chess Club, I assume that is. Actually, I shouldn't have said that. In this position, actually, a weakness of the last move is exploited. Rook takes d5, just wins material on f6. I can win material. So he doesn't want to play that. Black is doing really well. He's liberating instead with c5. So that resource is on b2. So I'm falling apart here. I've got a misplaced rook. My centre's falling apart. My opponent's bishops are pretty lethal across these diagonals. Queen's quite active here. Knight's very good. Every single one of my opponent's pieces is actually quite well placed. So this is horrible. So c5, I'm falling apart. I play Queen g4, trying to hold d4, because I thought this was a lesser evil move now, and what I call lesser evil choices. If Rook d1, this doesn't go too well. C takes B. I've got a back row issue here. So just bishop takes d4, and I'll be being mated. You know, if takes, check, end of game, checkmate. So that's not too good to play Rook d1. So I play Queen g4 to try and hold up d4, and still, you know, kind of look at a few things, potential pins. But Black is doing enormously well here with c takes d4. He's opening up this rook. I play bishop takes d4. And Black missed what seems to be a totally crushing move in this position. The engine is suggesting, well, there's two totally crushing moves, including the one he played actually, which he didn't follow up on. Yes, there's two moves which are nearly like +5. So thankfully my opponent's only 197. He's not like a super grandmaster, but technically he's almost +5 here. This is actually the worst position I've had in the Middlesex League the entire year and last year from October. So this is the worst position, and he has got a killer blow in this position. 2 killer blows at least. I think the others fall off. They're not +5, but there's 2 +5 moves here. Can you spot one of them if I give you 20 seconds starting from now? So Black to play here. Any ideas? Okay, so one move is Queen d2, and the other is Queen b4. Queen b4 is in the game, so let's have a look at Queen d2. Actually, it introduces Rook c1 check. There's only the Rook and the Bishop defending the King here. Rook c1, you know, hits the Bishop, and actually is a double attack for Rook c1. So say Bishop takes, we get Rook c1, and that would be kind of horrible. Bishop f1. Just knight takes f6. Just taking here. End of game. Thankfully he didn't play that, so he could have just finished the game. He played actually Queen b4, and that looks pretty good as well. I play Rook h4 now. So awkward, yes. So if he takes, yes, it does have a benefit. If he takes, there's a mate in one. So I'm holding on to d4 here, like this. And again, he's got a really crushing move in this position. Can you see what it is in this position? The crushing blow available to Black. There's one really crushing one. There's one slightly crushing one, +3. Actually, what he played is also quite dangerous. No, it's about the same as what he played. Well, anyway, and I'll tell you, just Queen d2 again in this position apparently is still with this mega threat of Rook c1. It's still strong here in this position. If h3, the engine's suggesting actually g5. That Rook's embarrassed, and actually the Queen's holding g5 here. And then also Bishop e2 is on the cards. So these pieces are kind of embarrassed actually. So this doesn't help. But anyway, no, he played actually e5. And now I do have a resource here not to immediately lose on the spot. Can you see what White can play not to immediately lose on the spot? So 20 seconds here. White to play in this position. Any ideas here? Thomas, you didn't see this game? All right, okay, I'm glad you didn't see this game. This makes it more interesting. At all, if you didn't see it. So Thomas Vidius, who's also around my rating, is on YouTube at the moment, about 195. You've said Bishop takes D5. I'm just going to tell you what Houdini thinks. Bishop takes D5. Apparently it's like -5 with Bishop takes H4. It's all falling to bits here. This is falling to bits for White. Takes. It's pretty horrible. If the Bishop moves, actually this Rook's dropping. Pretty horrible stuff. I think I played a better move anyway. I played, well, what the engine likes. Bishop C5. So it's hitting the Queen from 2 angles. So if Rook takes C5, Queen takes B4, Knight takes C5. If Bishop takes H4 here, apparently this is slightly better for Black, but so Bishop C5 is a key resource. Sorry, just see this again. Knight takes, Queen takes. This will be okay. I mean, Knight takes, Bishop takes, Knight takes, G takes. You know, it's slightly better for Black. It's not the end of the world. But again, actually, funny enough, Black still has this Queen D2 is still quite good. He actually played Queen takes G4, bit of a let off. In fact, it looks as though Queen A5 or Queen D2 is pretty good. So say Queen A5. Where does the Bishop go? It looks as though this is quite unpleasant. Bishop B4, Queen B5, and this Rook's kind of misplaced. So that's horrible. But he actually took off the Queen. Bit of a relief. Rook takes, and he's trying to trap the Rook now. He plays Bishop D3. So the Rook hasn't got any squares at all. No squares at all. So it looks as though H5 is on the cards just to win the Rook. So I've got to try and do something about this. And funny enough, so I play a forcing move here. Bishop takes D5, which gives actually the B4 square for the Rook. Rook takes. And I notice actually also, if I take on A7, the B6 square is weakened. And look at the Rooks. Bishop takes A7 now threatens Knight B6. Which he kind of ignored. He just played E4, which hits this Rook. I play Rook E1. And then he traps my Rook. I mean, he plays H5. But now Knight B6, and I'm sort of equal, actually. I've managed to somehow get this equal position now. After H takes, Knight takes. It simplifies. Rook A8. I take on F6. Bishop D4. I come a pawn up. I know, it's a miracle. It's a total miracle. Rook takes A2. Bishop takes F6. I've got to be careful that I could still embarrassingly lose this pawn up. after this. If I'm too ambitious here with the pawn, so I move the pawn here. Can you see a good move? No, not in this position. Rook b3. Say bishop e7. This didn't happen. Can you see what black? Well, yeah, it is dangerous. Can you see what black could have in this position? Maybe it's not that dangerous. No, it's not even mentioned by the engine. I thought this was dangerous e3. So if takes, that's mating. And I also thought taking here is dangerous because of bishop e4 with this. But I think it might actually be okay. Apparently this is okay for white. This position, just about. Yeah, there's some counterplay. But anyway, it was a miracle. I thought this position. I was happy with a draw, so I just played h3 here and offered the draw, and it was accepted. But there was, yeah. So earlier, it just seemed like a miracle to get away with murder here from this position, because actually all his pieces were totally, fantastic. My pieces were totally awkward. Yeah, it was a miracle save, I thought. Bishop c5, so some inaccurate play from him to let me off. So just finding bishop d5 for putting the rook on d5, and then the rook's here for b6. It's just strange that this happened. So I've given myself b4. So he shuts down the rook again and hits this one. There was also another possibility, though, actually, of an exchange sack we looked at, taking here. Because these two pawns look interesting, but I don't think the engines don't like this. Takes. I think black's too quick on the passed pawns here. This would actually be better for black. We were looking at this a little bit, but these pawns just look too vulnerable. They're not going anywhere. Say bishop e7. Yeah, it looks as though they're dropping off. So that's kind of nebulous compensation. So bishop takes d5, bishop takes a7, and then knight b6. It saves white. The engines, it's about equal here. Actually, it's okay now. So strange game, that one indeed. So that was one of my lucky saves there. Now this game from the Hertfordshire League, I was playing Steve Swanson, who bashed me up I think a year back. A gruesome game. I was playing black. Now this was on the 17th of March of this year. So this is quite interesting. Let's have a look at this. So Steve Swanson is a very strong FIDE rated player who I believe has represented Scotland in the Olympiads certain years as well. Actually, Thomas Videos in YouTube chat has played him and managed to draw with him earlier in the season in the Hertfordshire League. Tom, are you still there, by the way? I could just have interest. So e4 from Steve Swanson. I play the Sicilian. Knight f3. So he's over 200. He's something like 210 or something, more than 210, or something like that. Something really quite high. 208, maybe 208. So knight f3, d6. So he plays d4. C takes, and a really annoying move now. Really annoying. Queen takes d4. To put this in context, though, in this Hertfordshire League, there's adjournments and adjudications. So if he gets a small advantage, he can actually adjudicate the game at move 35. If it's just dangerous. It's difficult to get. I thought it would be difficult to get counterplay in this position. I don't really know the theory that well, so I just play what I think might be okay. I play a6. In live book, actually most people play knight c6, but a6 is the second most popular. So I play a6. He played bishop e3. This is the second most popular move. The most popular is setting up a Maroczy bind with c4. So he played bishop e3. So knight f6, knight c3, knight g4, and after the game he regretted not playing actually the move queen b6 here. I'm not sure this is a big deal, this position for white, to play queen b6. Knight takes e3. I mean, if we just have a quick look at this, queen takes. This should be okay for black. Look at the structure. This position here should be okay. I mean, let's try and castle queenside and play something like e5. I think d5 is solid enough for black. So I'm not sure queen b6 is a big deal here. And I was kind of... Actually, no, this is the move we were both wondering why you should play. Knight d5. It looks as though, the dark squares are being pierced. If knight takes e3... Now, let's go with f takes. I mean, e6 is actually possible here. I'm not sure this is going anywhere. Knight c6. That's not good. But if he plays knight takes e3, apparently white's got a small advantage here. Small, but he's given up the bishop pair, and maybe black shouldn't be that worried here. Okay, there's a bit of pressure on g7 though. Bishop d7. It should be okay with careful play. A little bit should be okay. So anyway, knight g4 was played. So bishop g5 though, he gave me a lot of fun with bishop g5. And this reminds me of Gelfand games against Nakamura. Bishop g5. I thought I could chase this bishop soon. Whoops. Knight c6. Queen moves back, and I start chasing this bishop. I want to accelerate fianchetto. So bishop h4. g5. So I'm going to accelerate fianchetto. Bishop g3. Bishop g7. I thought this is quite nice. I was really happy with this position as black. I thought this is a good fun position because I've got that c file later. Maybe even bishop e6. Maybe work on the c4 square. I was delighted here at this point with this position. He plays h3. Knight goes back. Knight takes. Bishop e2. Bishop e6. That c4 square. I'm still quite delighted with the position. He castled. And I thought instead of castling, maybe he's going to peel me open with h4 or something if I castle. Let's have a quick look. Castle. Apparently white's okay with knight d5. I'm not sure about f4. f4, knight c4. Okay, so anyway, I didn't castle. I played rook c8. And he just plays this, rook ad1. And I thought, hang on, b2. Surely b2's a problem. Queen b6. So pinning this as well. Hitting that. He plays b3. And here, in this position, queen c5. So I thought I'm winning this c2 pawn. What's going on here? Knight d5, bishop takes, e takes. So I win the c2 pawn. And he just casually plays f4. And actually, I'm not entirely sure. I've got such great position anymore. Because there are certain weaknesses. White has the bishop pair. These bishop h5s look dangerous. This f-file pressure looks potentially dangerous. I take on d2. Rook takes d2. And maybe I should play knight g6. The engine swings between knight g6 and g takes here. I couldn't really discern. Oh, pardon me. G takes or knight g6. I played g takes, bishop takes, and now knight g6. He plays bishop e3 though now, and black is a pawn up, but white has this bishop pair. There's potential annoyance with bishop h5 and stuff, and I think I panicked here on move 22. So this is a slight panicky move. It wasn't necessary, perhaps. Maybe okay. Let's say black castles. Let's just imagine black castling. Bishop g4 is quite annoying actually, and it looks as though the bishop pair is almost like running riot on all the squares. So although I'm a pawn up, it doesn't seem that clear. Knight e5, bishop f5. It doesn't seem that clear at all. This position. I'm a pawn up, but he's got this horrible bishop pair, and it seems almost like a positional pawn sacrifice to c2 because he's got that f-file. It just seems quite dangerous. He's got a bind on the position here for sure. I think some sort of bind. So what happened in the game was actually after rook c3. This is a terrible anticlimax. But I just couldn't see what I was doing here. After rook d3, I just didn't know if this was any good, this position anymore for me. If I take, then actually the engine's giving a slight advantage to white now. If castles rook c1, he's just dominating the file. I can't give him that file. And if I retreat to c7, then he just plays bishop, potentially plays bishop b6, I thought. Or maybe even just rook c1, just rook c1. And I don't know, this position here. Okay, this should be okay for me as well. This should be okay for black. It's probably the way to play. Yeah, I think I just chickened out somehow. I didn't move my rook back here. Maybe bishop b6. Is there a problem with that? Rook c2. That should be okay for black. Bishop d1. Just take here. That should be okay. Yeah. Hang on. So say white tries to get the file like this. Rook d1. I castle. Rook c1. Again, he's got the bishop pair, which is annoying. But I'm a pawn up. So I guess I should have played this out, actually. It's no big deal. The engine evaluation on this is actually less than half a pawn, though, to be fair. That there is some trump cards for white here, the bishop pair. A bit of pressure. And I kind of... yeah. I don't know. I kind of repeated, actually, here. It's ridiculous. I repeated. I went here. I think eventually. Rook d1. No, I don't even think this happened. I think this is the end of the session. I think I'm losing my marbles now on this game. I think it was just a draw, actually. So even though I'd achieved a good position from the opening, I just chickened out with a draw here. He'd smashed me the year before, and I think his bad memories coming in. And yeah, I lost some confidence here and drew. So this is why this game wasn't on YouTube. I think I was kind of embarrassed by it, but I thought I'd mention it here. Oh. Okay. I think that's it for this week. Yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Okay, thanks for coming. Yeah, maybe see you next week. Okay. Thanks very much. Comments or questions on YouTube?